Now let's look at some of the lessons in the NIE book. I'll go through these things briefly. Okay. Measures of intelligence. So intelligence test for measuring intelligence. So what are those intelligence tests? We discussed earlier. Intelligence tests measure a person's mental ability, right? It tests measure a person's mental abilities. Now down there at the bottom you can see there's a formula to calculate the mental abilities. We use the intelligence quotient to get an idea about one's mental ability, right? So the formula is IQ, intelligence, not intelligent, right? Intelligence quotient equals mental age divided by chronological age multiplied by 100. So what is this mental age? Mental age means the intelligence maturity. That means the mental ability related to a particular age. A 10-year-old child should have the mental abilities of that age, right? A 15-year-old child should have mental abilities related to that particular age. But sometimes we can see some students are not like that. Their mental abilities are very low. Some students are slow learners also. Right? So mental age means the mental ability related to a particular age. Then the chronological age is the natural age of a person, the biological age of a person, that means age from birth. So according to the formula, IQ equals mental age divided by chronological age into 100. Remember this formula, right? And chronological age, we know that, right? 10 years, 14 years, 60 years, like that. 100 is a constant value. What is this mental age? Can we calculate the mental age? No. That's why we have intelligence tests, right? So if we go up there are different intelligence tests. Alfred Binet, not Binet, Alfred Binet intelligence test, and then Stanford and Binet test, then Wechsler's intelligence tests. So remember some of these tests. So using those tests we can calculate the mental age, and we can apply that value into this formula and get an idea about the intelligence quotient. Now we'll go to this example. If the mental age of a 15-year-old student is 12 years, biological age is 15, mental age is 12, then his IQ, intelligence quotient, will be, you apply these values, 12 divided by 15 into 100, that is 80. Right? That's the intelligence quotient, IQ. So there's a scale, and those who scored between 90 and 110, they are at the average level of intelligence. Above 130, genius, and below 70, idiot. Okay, so how can you calculate? By using this formula. Remember that formula. The mental age should come on the top, right? Now remember මෝඩයිද කියලා බලනවා කියලා. එතකොට m මතකයිනේ. Right, mental age divided by chronological age into 100. Then types of intelligence tests. There are basically two types according to the test construction. how the tests are constructed. Then, according to the holding of a test, how they are held. Now, test construction, linguistic intelligence tests and non-linguistic intelligence tests. According to the holding of a test, individual tests and group intelligence test. Down there you can find the description. Linguistic intelligence tests are uh, uh, these tests designed using words and digits, right? Non-linguistic, they are prepared using diagrams and symbols. Then individual tests, in which only one individual is tested at a time, right? Individual, according to the holding, how they are held. Group intelligence means in which a group of individuals is tested at the same time. So, the two types of intelligence tests. Then preparation, so you can go through these, right? Then the classification of individuals, you can go through this table. 5.5, multiple intelligences, right? According to Howard Gardner, there are 8 different intelligences. Linguistic intelligence, logical or mathematical intelligence, spatial, bodily or kinesthetic intelligence, musical, interpersonal, that means within, intrapersonal intelligence, and naturalist intelligence. So these different types of intelligences are useful to guide the students or the learners, right? Howard Gardner. Next, uses of intelligence tests in recruitment to schools and vocations. At some schools, they require the IQ level, and some institutes also, say NASA, then Harvard universities, and also for vocations, different professions. To measure the skills in addition to natural learning abilities, right? We can measure memory power, linguistic ability, reasoning, logical reasoning, to utilize in counseling purposes also. If at a low level of intelligence, so how to help the student. Not only to measure the intellectual ability, but also to reveal the directions that indicate great tendency or skill by the student. Especially you can make use of these Howard Gardner's multiple intelligences here. Multiple intelligence test. Then the students can be directed to their skillful areas. To focus students to vocational education, right? Those who are good in maths, they can go in that direction. Those who are good in music, they can go in that direction. To identify the students' abilities, inabilities, weaknesses and strengths. And also then we can apply remedial measures. The teacher can plan her lessons according to the IQ levels or the standard of the students. Then when she can select the appropriate teaching learning materials and also evaluative techniques. Then there are some weaknesses also. Go through these. It is unable to say definitely whether the intelligence test measure the innate intelligence or the intelligence measured by the test. Born intelligence or just the intelligence tested by measured by the test. Right? We can measure only a particular type of intelligence. Right? Intelligence is a whole thing. The special abilities of intelligence, numerical, verbal, etc., can be measured through intelligence test, but it has less ability to measure common abilities. That's what I said earlier, right? Certain areas can be measured. Inconvenience of utilizing intelligence test as a tool measuring creative skills or abilities. We can't measure the creative skills. As training and exercise can have influence on the marks of intelligence test, it is impossible to measure the exact intelligence quotient. Likewise, we cannot rely only on intelligence tests because they measure a particular area, right? And they can vary also. All right. And the next topic is aptitude tests. We discussed this earlier also. Aptitude tests, according to the previous note, aptitude tests measure whether a person has a particular talent to follow a specific course of study in future. That means it predicts future performance in a field of study. It's not of past learning, right? These tests are conducted to select people for study courses, music, law, medicine, etc. These are used mostly in highly competitive situations. As an example, I said the grade 5 scholarship exam, right? Aptitude, Abhyogata Pariksha. Now, according to this note also, it says aptitude tests are used to measure and reveal the future abilities or potentialities of a person. These tests predict the success or failure of the task involvement of the learner by completing a training about that task. So an aptitude test is a condition. Right? According to the above definition, predictive validity is the most important characteristics of an aptitude test. Predictive validity. Then types of aptitude tests. There are two types. What are those? General aptitude and specialized aptitude. General aptitude test. These common or general aptitudes needed for every mental activity, and specified aptitudes needed only for some activities, right? Then general aptitude tests, they measure what? Down here, ability to reason, analogy. Analogy means what? Comparison of one thing with another thing that has similar features. There are pictures also. Remember grade 5 scholarship exam? Ability to classify, linguistic ability, numerical ability. Those are for general aptitude tests. Then in constructing specific or specified aptitude tests, they are made targeting the related task, related area. Right? The aptitude tests are based on that one particular related area. Mechanical aptitude test must be constructed appropriate to measure the mechanical aptitude. What do you mean by aptitude? The ability to perform in the future. Right? That's it for this. Now, if we compare aptitude tests and achievement tests, we can say aptitude test measures potential learning abilities and capacities. Actually, the present potential learning abilities and capacities. Achievement tests, they measure a task trained or learned, past ones, right? A task trained or learned achievement. Here, what is in the aptitude test, what is existing now, present potential for the future work. Measures formal learnings, things grabbed informally from the environment, and lifelong abilities. Achievement tests, they measure capacity related to the course. specific area. The other one, not specific, right? Broader. Number 3, heterogeneous items based on various subject areas are included. Heterogeneous means different types of items based on various subject area, linguistic, mathematical, music, right? So all the different areas can be included. Achievement tests, homogeneous items, similar items related to the subjects are included, right? The scope is limited. Then number 4, holds in any occasion and uses for the selection to courses. Conducts as formative or summative during the process, right? Formative or at the end. Finds on the subject achievement. This is uses for the selection to courses. Here, find the subject achievement. Achievement means how well and how much the students have learned. Okay. Then there's a small note. These things you can remember, right? Intelligence test. Who is the person? Stanford and Binet, 2 people. Intelligence, Wessler's intelligence test. Then multiple intelligence, Howard Gardner. Attitudes, right, or personality traits. We can measure those things by Likert scale or rating scales. The next topic, personality tests. What do you mean by personality? It is the individual characteristics of a person, right? So we can test the individual characteristics of a person also. What are the individual characteristics? Politeness, leadership qualities, punctuality, honesty, all these things. And also a person's opinions, attitudes, dislikes or preferences, likes or dislikes, then emotions, behavioral patterns, all these come under personality. Now, if we go to the first paragraph, in the school-based assessment, we want to improve or highlight these personal traits of students in a positive way, right? That's why we conduct personality tests. Then we can identify their ideas, opinions. We can assess them, right? To assess them, we can use Likart's scale. I'll give you one example here. Now, the main idea, the main aim of the education is to produce a well-balanced citizen, right? That citizen should be, that person, knowledgeable, skillful, affectionate, and with good or positive personality traits and social skills. All right. Now we'll go to the last paragraph there. Personality of a person consists of his heredity, biological factors, and the factors developed by himself with the environment surrounded him. Right? So the personality of a person is determined by heredity factors, biological factors, and environmental factors. The person's ideas, attitude, traits, behavioral patterns, and emotions, etc., can be mentioned as factors developed within the environment surrounded him. So the teachers should pay attention to these facts in measuring and assessing personality, right? Heredity factors, biological factors, environmental factors. What are the uses of these personality tests, aptitude tests, all these intelligence tests? As we mentioned earlier, intelligence, the teacher can plan the lessons well according to the standard of the students. then the teacher can improve the qualities of the students, personality and traits of the students, knowledge of the students, right? Intelligence and aptitude. Then the activities should be constructed, designed accordingly to produce a well balanced citizens in all the areas. Okay. Personality traits, personality test, right? Another definition. A personality test is completed to yield or provide a description of an individual's distinct personality traits, right? The Likert scale is a type of psychometric scale frequently used in assessing the personality traits. Remember this, right? Personality traits are measured by Likert scale. Then you can use a questionnaire, right? Give questions, and in that scale you can find on a questionnaire a typical Likert item usually takes the following format: strongly, disagree, disagree, neither agree nor disagree, agree, strongly, agree. Either in ascending or descending order. There should be 5 options, and the middle one is average, right? Neutral. Then you can see some personality traits are given down there. Remember them. Personality is a complex characteristic that is hardly possible to measure. That's true, no? How can we measure one's bravery, honesty, politeness? Whether we don't know whether that's the true politeness or acting. And they change also. Even if not acting, people change, though their personality traits also change. Behaviors can be changed by conditioning and unconditioning. Personality is a dynamic. Dynamic means changing as well as a person. Personality is also changing, the person is also changing. Therefore, measuring personality is not easy. Teachers should have a good training about it. Some traits that can be used to measure and assess personality are given below. So, go through them. You need them. There's another topic, 5 domains. So, you'll have to remember these personality traits. Another technique to measure their personality traits is observation. Remember observation schedules? We used those things in our child study, right? We observe the students, their characteristics. Actually, the 3 main domains, affective domains, right? Attitudes, their emotions, values, beliefs, right? Then personality traits and social skills. Go through that note also. And here we can use observation techniques in the classroom to assess personality traits, and observation schedule can be used for it. So there are here the steps are given. The following steps should be followed in using the above instrument. Listing out the personality traits subjected to evaluate. Now look at the example given there down. Assessing students' personality traits individually. Now this is an individual one, but in groups also you can assess. Keeps books clean, works on time, polite behavior, likewise. But I said in the earlier example that you have to state the positive as well as negative one, because that child doesn't keep the book always clean, not always polite, right? How can you make those sentences then? Keeps books clean, does not keep books clean, likewise, right? So then you have to use tallies and analyze the results. Okay. So personality can be measured by questionnaires. In the questionnaires, you can have questions or statements following the Likert scale. Then you can use observation technique, observation schedules to measure the personality traits of a person. Okay. Next, personal attitudes are outstanding component of the personality. Are called attitudes. A person with refined personality will be a person with refined attitudes. Right? Good personality, good attitudes. If you have good attitudes, then your personality is good. Therefore, teacher should have a clear understanding about measuring and assessing personal attitudes. Right? Attitudes are part of the personality traits. Attitude tests are used to measure attitudes. Right? Among the tests, Likert scale is significant, as I mentioned earlier. So there's a rating, right, up to 1. For example, now we can assess the students' attitudes. Vegetarians help reducing mass killings of animals. Vegetarians, right, they help reducing mass killings of animals. So you can mark strictly agree, agree, average, disagree, strictly disagree. Or if we say, if we want to check an opinion, the school children or the school children above 14 should be allowed to bring their mobile phones to the schools. Then you can have a rating scale like this. You can state your opinion, right? Another example will say, I always protect the public property. Then there's a scale. Strongly agree, agree, likewise. Then you can put your answer there. You can mark the answer. One disadvantage is, as we discussed earlier, now say I protect the public property. You know it's a good thing, so you will mark strongly agree. Right? But you may not do it always. So the reality is one thing, what you mark is another. That's one weakness in rating scales and these questionnaires. Right? Now if we consider, do you, when you leave the classroom, do you always check whether the fans are working, or do you switch off the fans? Do you switch off the lights? Do you close the door? Things like that. So these things are by using Likert scale, questionnaires, observation schedule, attitudinal tests like this, we can measure the personality. Next one, constructive tests. The tests that promote improvement or development of students in the learning teaching process. These tests require the candidate to construct answers. That's one type, right? They construct answers. So they have to use their logical thinking, organization, summarizing, synthesizing, all these things. This can be done by getting them to construct one or more sentences as their answer, either in spoken or written form. Constructive tests. The test, or we can give the constructive test like this. The test can be consisted of building materials, and the candidate will be asked to build the best thing he or she could in a time limit, right, within a given time. Maybe it can be twice as many minutes as his or her age in years. 10-year-old, 20 minutes. 20-year-old, 40 minutes. Likewise. Standardized tests. The standardized tests are the tests that are administered and scored in a consistent or standard manner. So, what do you mean by that? That means the procedures for conducting the tests, the steps in conducting the tests, the materials used in the tests, and the way that the tests are being marked are held consistent, right? They don't change. Now procedure, the steps in conducting the test, they don't change, right? Materials used in the test, same standard materials, not the same material, same standard materials, and the way the tests are being marked are held consistent. Examples: GATE standardized reading test, TOEFL test, and IELTS, right? SAT, all these are standardized tests. These standardized tests can be bought in many developed countries. If you want, you can buy these tests and conduct them in your class. A manual of instructions so as to how to conduct the test and how to mark the answers is supplied. One important feature of these tests is its objectivity. Objectivity, remember objective type questions, one definite answer, and the allocation of marks is definite. In addition to the familiar multiple choice format, standardized tests can include true or false, short answer questions, and essay questions, or a mix of question types. You can include objective type tests items or semi-objective type structured ones, or even essay questions. In the TOEFL test, a TOEFL IELTS, you get essays, spoken, all four skills are measured there. Those are standard tests, examples. But you can minimize the subjectivity by providing a detailed, well outlined marking scheme. So usually the test package is accompanied with a grade norm table. Right, there's a table, say the bands are there. Band 1, band 2, band 6. Right, allocation of marks. These tests measure achievement. You can have standard tests for achievement, aptitude standard test, linguistic standard tests, and can be used for one particular population and to test one particular learning or developmental area, right? One particular group of students or one particular learning area or one particular developmental age group. The consistency or the standardness makes it possible to compare the relative performance of individual students or group of students. The stability of these tests, they don't change from one to another. That means not the questions or the standard, right? It doesn't change from one test to another. So we can give these kind of tests consistently and compare the performance because it has high level of objectivity. And because of the band norm, that the detailed marking scheme, the subjectivity is also minimized. Okay, the final subtopic, types of assessments, right, according to the person. There are three main types of assessments: self-assessment, peer assessment, teacher, instructor or facilitator assessment. Now if you take the first one, self-assessment. By the way, the activity is based on this section, right? What you have to do is you have to write the definition of the assessment. What is self-assessment? Then you will have to write the advantages and the limitations or weaknesses of each type of assessment, right? That is your activity. Now if we take the first one, self-assessment. What is this self-assessment? The individual or the student assesses his achievement or performances by himself. Self-assessment. Right? Then what are the advantages of self-assessment? The student or the child can know about his own level of performance or achievement, the position of himself within the group, then the areas that he is weak about, and his strengths. He can identify his own strengths by comparing with the others also, right? Then the child can, if he assesses and if he works hard, he can develop self-confidence. He gets motivated, right? Likewise, at least 10 advantages. Then what are the limitations in self-assessment? The child may not know the exact level of the weaknesses, or in the first place the child may not know the weaknesses. He may be not able to identify the weaknesses or the strength, and the degree of the weakness or the level of the weaknesses. Then he may not know how to find solutions, or what are the ways that he can employ or use to overcome the weaknesses. Then sometimes he might get discouraged, demotivated, if he fails all the time. Likewise, you can write, think and write, 10. Next one, peer assessment. You can go through this note also. You can think, no? Peer assessment. Peer assessment is a group of peers, or a student's performance or achievement is assessed by a group of friends, peers. When can you find this type of assessment? In your block teaching sessions, right? Peer observation. In the classroom, when you are doing a group presentation, the others comment on your performance, no? So give some examples also. And what are the advantages of peer assessment? Sometimes the students may like to have comments from the friends rather than from the teacher. They may feel comfortable with their peers, and the peers may identify or acknowledge the difficulties of the friend, right? They will give different ideas from different angles and solutions also. They can, their peer assessments create team spirit or cooperation, respecting the candidates. They learn to respect others' views without getting angry and all. Likewise, at least 10 disadvantages. Yeah, sometimes the friends may not know what are the weaknesses, what are the strengths, or what are the solutions, right? Sometimes the student may not like to have comments from the peers. He may like to have the comments from the assessment done by the teacher. And he might get ignored or neglected or humiliated. Then can get easily demotivated. Likewise, you can write. Third one, teacher or instructor or facilitator assessment. We discussed that, no? Teacher assessments, teacher tests, progress tests. What are the advantages? The teacher assesses the students' performance or achievement, right? Teacher assessment. Advantages: The teacher can identify the student's strengths and weaknesses. Then the teacher can apply remedial measures. Teacher can organize the lessons accordingly, decide on the teaching learning materials, techniques, teaching techniques, and all. And teacher can get an idea about her own teaching as well. Then limitations. Sometimes, if the teacher gives test, stressful situations, right? Then competition, unhealthy competition, sometimes, right? Likewise, you can write the limitations in teacher tests. The teacher has to construct the test more often, likewise. So that is the end of this section. What's the section? Measuring instruments, measuring tools. All right.